Okay, so you know how sometimes a single episode of television can just split a fandom right down the middle? Well, for Monarch Legacy of Monsters, that was episode 8. This chapter became one of the most debated of the entire season, and for good reason. And this one comment from the Monsterverse subreddit it perfectly captures the whole problem. I mean, think about that. How does an episode make you sad to see Godzilla, the monster you literally tuned in to watch? So, what on earth happened here? All right, let's start with the main event, the thing we were all waiting for, that epic clash between Godzilla and the brand new creature, Titan X. And look, on this point, pretty much everyone was in agreement. The spectacle was awesome. I mean, people loved the raw power. That tail swipe was just brutal. The underwater shots were incredible, and the fight choreography itself, fantastic. The CGI was great, especially for a TV budget. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? The biggest complaint was that it was just too short. They kept cutting away to the humans, which kind of killed the momentum and left a lot of folks feeling like they got cheated out of the main event. But here's where things got really interesting. This fight wasn't just about two giant monsters beating each other up. Nope. It had this emotional core that kind of snuck up on everybody and created a totally unexpected underdog. So, it turns out that Titan X wasn't just some random monster on a rampage. No, she was a mom, and she was just trying to protect her egg. The whole conflict was basically a setup, a trick engineered by Lee Shaw to draw Godzilla in so that Apex operatives could sneak by and steal her egg. Pretty messed up, right? And that moment, she sees her egg being stolen and tries to stop fighting Godzilla to save it. Oh, it was just heartbreaking. This one reveal created this huge wave of sympathy for the creature we thought was the villain. And in a crazy twist, fans found themselves rooting against Godzilla. And, you know, the internet's gonna do what it does, and the memes were gold. So, the monster fight absolutely delivered on the emotion, maybe even more than it did on the action. But while the audience was connecting with the Titans, the human characters were, well, they were doing the exact opposite. And that's where things get really complicated. Which brings us right to what everyone's calling the human problem. This was, without a doubt, the most divisive part of the entire episode. It's like the monsters built this amazing emotional connection with us, and then the humans just came in and shattered it. I mean, just look at the Reddit threads. Fans were deeply frustrated. They felt Kentaro's big moral turn wasn't earned at all. Kate came across as just plain annoying to many. Shaw's motivations were getting muddled. And May? People were literally asking, why is she even here? Now, to be fair, the professional reviews praise the actors. Kurt Russell and Anna Sawai are fantastic, of course. But even a great performance can't always save a character that audiences just can't stand. And this comment pretty much sums it all up, doesn't it? All this talking, no action. That was the major complaint. The show was spending so much time on human drama that a lot of viewers felt was underdeveloped, and it was taking away from what they really came to see. And you know, the frustration with the characters wasn't just about some cringy dialogue. It really pointed to a much bigger issue that people were having with the writing and the plot of the season as a whole. Fans and critics both started pointing out all these plot holes and inconsistencies that were just hard to ignore. Like, how do these characters travel across the entire globe in what seems like an afternoon? And Lee Shaw's actions seem to completely contradict his established motivations. It even created some issues with the movie canon. One person even made that classic Raiders of Lost Ark comparison, that if you took the main characters out of the story, the ending would be exactly the same. Ouch. That's why one reviewer called the episode a house without a proper foundation. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. Monarch's whole pitch is that it's a character-centric series. So if the character part of the equation ends up feeling nonsensical, then what are we even doing here? It's a huge risk for a show that bets so heavily on its human element. So, how do we make sense of this? You've got these two completely different, totally valid experiences with the same hour of television. On the one hand, you have a professional review from Sci-Fi Pulse giving the episode a 9.7 out of 10. That's a near-perfect score. They praised the acting, the CGI, and called that fight surprisingly heartbreaking. And then, on the other hand, a review from Minute Media gives it a C+. They argued that, yeah, some of the individual pieces worked, but the whole thing was being held up by a really weak seasonal foundation. So, in the end, whether this episode was a masterpiece or a mess really just depends on what you're looking for.
If you showed up for incredible monster action and an emotional kaiju story, it was an absolute triumph. But if you needed coherent characters and a plot that holds together, well, it was a failure.
And that really just leaves us with one final big question. In a modern monster story, is it enough for the monsters to get all the character development, or do the humans need to be just as compelling for the whole thing to truly work?